I'm flooding your inbox now. So your subscription inbox is going to be like a video like that. When somebody does that, if I'm not see, I subscribe. This is what happens. Oh, YouTube to me. I'm losing my voice. Gosh. What happens is I search on YouTube, and then someone's talking about what I'm searching for, and then I like their video and I subscribe to them, and then in the future they'll like make a video, and it's like a gaming video, right? Or a video of like they're playing a musical instrument or something. I'm not really interested in that. I only really was thinking that if I subscribe to them, then all the videos they make will be like that, the one that I was looking for. Like they'll be more on that topic. And they won't be on other things. And if I don't have the right equipment and I'm not using good quality camera gear, and I'm not spending like a lot of time editing my videos, and maybe I didn't take the voice training that I could have trained in having a proper English accent that maybe would have given me more credibility if I would have spoken more with a British accent, and more people would go, oh, he's smart because he's talking in real English language. He must know what he's talking about. He's just not a hillbilly. And doesn't know what he's talking about because his voice sounds a certain way. So it's like it's like if you go to a carnival, right? If you went to an amusement park and there was booths, right? And one booth you went to, it was like they must have spent like $20,000 just to make the booth at the carnival. It had like really gilded the poles were like really fancy. There was fancy lettering. There was really neat graphics. There was like plush, like carpeting near their booth. And they had a really expensive sound system. And they had like really neat graphics going on in the background. And the guy there that was like he was like the narrator there at the front of the booth. He was like dressed in a really expensive suit. And he had a British accent. And he was like, he looked like a professional actor, right? And you would go by that carnival and you would like, everybody would want to go to that booth, right? To see like the guy with like the $20,000 stage and the really expensive suit. He's like all really nice makeup, very, very, very well dressed, and speaks with an English accent, and everything at the booth, right, is really clean and crisp and easy to see. And it's like his voice is really clear, and everybody's drawn to that one booth, right, to see that at the carnival. And then you got another guy over here, and it's kind of dark, and it's kind of the dingy part of the carnival, and it's way in the back, and there's like kind of like things laying around. It's messy, and he's got like, you know, a scruffy look to him, and he's wearing some old clothes, and maybe he stutters and stammers a little bit, and it's the lighting isn't that good there, but he's talking about like things that happened to him, like at a really, like he wants to say something that's unique to himself, that he would know that, oh, there's probably no one else that's ever spoken about this certain subject in this certain way that he's talking about it, and he's talking that way. Whereas the guy that's in the $20,000 posh, really, really elaborate and well lit and really high quality sound system, and that all that he does is he just shows like everything he has there has all been done before. Someone else has done what he's done, but he does it a little bit differently. But that's what everybody expects to see. Everybody expects to see that and hear it that way, you know. So it's kind of hard to explain. It's like it's and they want that the people that put the car that are making the carnival possible for everybody there, they want to encourage people to use, like, spend a lot of money on camera gear, spend a lot of money on sound equipment, and have different kinds of cameras, wide angle cameras, and spend a lot of time editing, right? That's what you got to do. You got to be really good at editing. So you have to have a very high-end desktop computer to do editing on, and then use microphones that are really good microphones that pick up the sound quality really well. And then when you do a video, when that person is doing a video, they've like done that like 20 times already. They've practiced and rehearsed exactly what they're doing and saying in the video. They've rehearsed it and practiced it. And they've made like 20 takes on that video. And they've had a team of people review it and screen it. And they've had like other people in a workshop area do like the background editing. They've had a stage crew. They had a sound engineer. They had like an editor that was really good at editing videos. And then they had a band that could play musical instruments, so they could do sound in and sound outs in that. Or they spent like thousands of dollars and had animations done and intros done in that. And then they regularly do these videos, and they're very regularly doing them at a consistent basis and they're always like less than 15 minutes too. I never see like videos that are really popular are usually less than 15 minutes. So, but does popularity, does that guarantee, is that a sign of credibility? So that's the thing. Is it, when you're the more popular you are, the more credibility you have. The more unpopular you are, then that's the public is what gives you credibility. So in that, you would think, oh, it shouldn't be that way. That means people are dumb, right? That means if people rely on how much of expensive suit you're wearing, if you have voice training and you speak in an English accent, if you're using $1,000 microphone, if you have makeup, if you do really good editing on your video, if you're using really expensive camera gear and that, then that gives you like a qualification, right? But that's the way it is. I mean, I'm not complaining that, why is it that way? Why is it? No, I'm not, I'm saying, well, I'm a shitty, I said my videos are shitty, but I don't really take a lot of time out and thought about what I'm going to say in these videos. Like, well, the title of this video, what is it? Reincarnation and dreaming, right? So you go to sleep at night, you dream that you're somebody else, you're speaking another language, you're in another country, you dream that you're an animal, right? That's another thing. And then you wake up, you go, wow, maybe that's like could it be another life? Maybe in my previous life, I was a crow. Maybe in my previous life, I was a dog. Maybe in my previous life, I was a Chinese peasant working on a railroad in like Mongolia. Or maybe I was in another life, I was like someone else in another city, in another country. But when I die, my brain, which is like all the memories that I have and my personality traits and all that, just dies with me. But the one that's in the theater, right? The person that's in the theater, they're still the same viewer. They're the observer, participator in the theater. The theater changes. The puppet, the meat puppet that they wear, the sack of flesh that they wear in their life, that's gone. That changes. But the participant, the observer, is still there, and it reviews and it renews it. It just regenerates into something else in the future. Like you could be like walking around and you see a pregnant woman and you're like, well, you look at the pregnant woman and it's like, wow, that could be you in the future. Do you think when you see a pregnant woman, do you go, wow, I'm going to be like, that's going to be me in the future? I'll be that all over again. Does that bother you? It's like me. It's weird. I know I'm saying that. Yeah, I was at the store once and I seen this pregnant woman. I was like looking at her like if that was going to be me in the future. I was going to reincarnate as someone else. But you can't do anything about it, right? It's like climate change, right? You personally can't do anything about the climate change, right? You can't do anything about it any more than you could do anything about, like, I'm powerful, that when I emerge as this new being and as a butterfly in the next life, I'm going to be like super powerful and I'll be able to like change like this vase of clay into solid gold. I'll be able to like walk on the air up into the sky, into the clouds. I'll be able to like take a mountain before me and will that mountain and make a castle like appear like that, and be like wear like really fine robes and like walk and like make thunder and lightning, and I'll have all this power. I'll be in control of everything. And like you think, you watch people and they say that, they come across like that, like that's good, they're going to be able to do that. I'm like going, well, look at me, look at you in this life. Like I just went to the dentist and having a tooth pulled out of my head. You know, I didn't want that there to be a tooth pulled out of my head, but it was cracked, and I couldn't just go, tooth, mend yourself, tooth, like that, and infuse my tooth together and make it like a brand new tooth. Use my willpower, you know, my psychical magical powers, and heal myself. Best thing I could do is put iodine on it, you know, rub a little tiny little bit of iodine on it every night before I went to bed, so I didn't get an infection going up into my head, killing me. So these people that think they're going to go to the next world or the next life and they're going to have all this power and control, you know, and be like a wizard or a magician or some kind of really super powerful being. Oh, I'm going to go into the next world and I'm going to be like a god, right? I'm going to come back and reincarnate as a god, you know, in the next life. Because I know the secret. I know the magic spell. I know, I've read all the books. I've been to I've been up to Tibet, you know. I've been to seeing the monks in the Himalayas, and I've been and done like vision quests and like, you know, gone through, like, starved to myself and been on like the trails and been out, spent a lot of time out in the wilderness all by myself, meditating, you know, floating on the air, having superpowers or whatever. It'd be more like, well, if somebody was like claiming these things and they weren't a real ethical person, if they claim spiritual powers, but they're not ethical as a person, right? They have certain questionable ethics about them, even a little bit of the ethicals, then they're just like, they've ruined they don't have any credibility to me. In my eyes, they don't have any credibility. Because if somebody were to have something like that, it could happen, but it doesn't, because we don't have any control over the natural world. We are pretty much thrown into the world as we are. We don't really choose to be here. No one can say, oh, you had a choice to be here. You were like floating around and you said, oh, I want to be a human being. And you came here, and they say that's your fault because you wanted to be here. You just don't remember it. You didn't remember signing up for this, but you did, right? Supposedly, they say that. They assume that. Oh, you wanted it. You asked for this, right? It's not like that at all. It's like you're at the mercy of nature. I look at these like deep space images like taken by the Webb Space Telescope and the Hubble Space Telescope. You see the deep field imaging that's been done of the different. And it shows like galaxies upon galaxies upon galaxies upon galaxies upon galaxies. It's just keep going and going and going and going and going. Galaxies and galaxies and galaxies. And every one of those galaxies has like so many hundreds of billions of stars. And there's, out of those hundreds of billions of stars, there's planets, right? Now we know, and there's more planets than we thought we knew before. Now every like star is like. And then it's a given that, oh, you only happen once. You're unique to this one time. You'll never happen again. It's such a fluke. It's such an odd thing that the laws of statistics, the probabilities of the of all the same atoms that made your DNA molecule, those exact same combinations of adenine, guanine, cytosine, thymine, and all of the exact conditions of all of the plate tectonics and the arrangement of the continents and all the natural formations of the weather and the way the earth was and how the earth changed over time and where you came from, your parents, their parents, their parents' parents, their parents' parents, and all the whole lineage of your family line up until your birth. It only can happen this one time. It never will happen again. It has never happened. It only happens, you're only alive once, this one time, and that's it. When you're gone permanently for good, never again to happen, never, you're asleep forever. It's nights out, it's lights out, it's forever gone, nothing, nada, zip, zilch, boom. You're out of here. There's no more you. Don't think, oh gosh, the universe is so big. I don't know, maybe I'll come back again. No. Or, wow, there could have been another universe. Maybe there was before a Big Bang and this Big Bang. Maybe there was another Big Bang. Maybe when this universe dies, there will be another Big Bang and then I'll come back again. No. One time, you're here once and that's it. Only one time. That's a fact. That's science. That's nature. You are a unique individual. You will never come about again. You will never be repeated again. You are intimately tied to each atom that your body is. You are tied to that specific particular atom, that brain, the brain that you have in your head, those atoms, that's you. When those die and they're gone and they're all dissolved and it's dissipated, you're completely broken apart. It's into nothing. It's permanent. It's forever. That's it. It will never rearrange itself and come back and emerge again as a person that you are now with the same atoms. So don't worry about what you have no control over. You can't do anything about it. It's like worrying about climate change. Only you can prevent forest fires, right? Like Smokey the Bear. Only you can prevent forest fires, or like Uncle Sam, making you think, like pulling a card out, a guilt card. You're guilty here. You could have done something about it. And people that are wealthy, they'll like, they go on their campaigns and they'll lip service to climate change. Oh, we got to cut back on our carbon emissions. We got to use less energy. We have to conserve more. And they blah, 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 blah talk. And then they go out and they're like flying around in their private jet. They take one trip in their jet and they use like enough fuel for like a whole village of people in Africa, like a village of like 1,000 people. They use their one trip uses enough energy for a whole year of a village of like 100 people in Africa in a village. Just that one trip in an airplane. That's how much energy it took to take their body in a plane from point A to point B. And they're like going on and on. Oh, we gotta stop the carbon dioxide. There's too much CO2 in the air. Blah blah blah. And they have a big yacht, and they use a lot of fuel, right? With their lifestyle, it takes a lot of fuel to heat their swimming pool and keep all their summer homes warm and cool in the summer and warm in the winter, even though there's no one there. They have to maintain these big buildings that are empty, right? They have all these cars. They have big garages all full of these different cars. They can only drive one. You can only drive one car at a time, but they still have all these cars. They somehow need like 100 cars. And like, if somebody like wants to, like, if somebody should worry about climate change, it's like wealthy people that have a lot of children. They're the ones that should worry more about anyone else. It should be on their heads more about anyone else, about guilt, about climate change. Wealthy, and they have a lot of kids. Not single, no children, old guys that are like vegan and don't never go anywhere. and put blankets on their doors to keep their house warm because they don't want to use energy. They're paying for it. They don't want to pay for it. And hardly have, two nickel dimes to rub together. And they're like really super frugal and cheap. Why would that person have a guilty conscience about climate change? They're the opposite. The person that should be like feeling like, oh, what are my grandchildren going to go through? What are my people? All these people in the future? All these babies that are being born today. All these women that are having children right now, right? That are going to want to have big families. All these people that are having families. They should be the ones worried, upset, concerned, not grandpa that's got no kids, right? That hardly has any money, that's cheap, that's vegan, right? Maybe I said too much. Maybe I've like exposed myself too much here on this. But it's like, it's something to do. I don't care. It's like, maybe if I get like one viewer in the next 2 months, if I leave this video up and I get like 1 or 2 views on it, I'll be like, wow, that's exciting. Somebody actually watched this video, got something out of it. I don't know. But they don't leave a comment. If they leave a comment, that's like more. Yeah, wow, they left a comment on my video. Well, they call me like white trash or like, cracker, you cracker, you old boomer. It's all your fault, boomer. They don't like boomers. Or they don't like it that I'm Irish. Some people don't like Irish people. Dark Irish people. I was on the train, Amtrak, and gentleman that worked in the snack bar was like, I was sitting there in the car, in the snack area, the snack car on the Amtrak. I don't remember if I was looking out the window or whatever. I was just sitting there eating, and the guy came and looked at me and like, he looked at me, he says, he was a black guy. He looked at me, he says, oh, you're dark Irish. I know you're dark Irish, right? Like that. And I was like, huh? Like in my entire life, no one has ever like approached me about and made a thing about my race, like I close my eyes and I am no race, I close my eyes and I don't have a skin color, I'm 99.999% of the time I spent thinking in my life, I don't really think about my race, what race I am. What classification of this human, they're white, they're from Northern Europe, they're German, they're Irish, they're English, they're some Scottish, they have a little French, Canadian, American, Native American in them, they're dark Irish, they're from the Spanish or the war, the Armada, the Spanish Armada, they were from their ancestry. Like, I don't even know past my great-great-grandfather what he looked like, right? I know he worked in iron mines in England, right? I know that much about my family history. I know my mom's side of the family, there's like a mercantile. They were in the mercantile, and no one owned slaves. My family and my entire family, both sides of my family, no one had slaves. So if somebody is like a dark color person, a black person doesn't like me because I'm white, I'll tell you that my ancestors didn't have slaves, so don't be mad at me. Don't use that. I inherited I come from my family line. They were oppressed. They were held down, held back. They were, mistreated. The white man was like honest, the boot on the neck like that. My ancestors weren't there. They weren't doing that. My ancestors were like digging in iron mines and working in hotels and selling shoes and doing like farm work or building roads, mining and that. They weren't slave owners. So don't be mad at me. I'm like, well, see, it bothers me that people are like prejudiced against me because of my skin color. because it's kind of like somebody wronged them that looked like me in their life, and I'm a target because I look like that person that wronged them, and they still still carry around a grudge, and it's like I'm a target for their grudge because I look similar in my physical features to that person that wronged them, you know. It's like if you had to go to prison, right? You'd have to go and join up with the white people, right? If I was white and I went to prison, I'd have to hang out with all the white prisoners. Thank God I never went to prison for anything. I had some like things that I did. I was drunk, all right, where I was just being stupid that could have involved like somebody like really like if I was driving, right? You know, I was driving. I never drove really drunk, right? There was a few times after work I had drinks at a bar. Not a lot, just a couple, like 2 or 3 drinks at a bar, and then I socialized there for an hour or two, and then I got in my car and maybe took a little nap while it was before I left, and then I started my car later and I went. And I did that a couple times, and that was the only time I drank at all, any alcohol at all, and I drove those times. But I never got really drunk and got in my car, except on my own property. I did that once. Turned up my radio and started my engine and drove my car around my driveway. Yeah, not good. Like it should have been when I was 21 years old, and I wrecked my car at Dockweiler Beach in Playa del Rey, and I woke up at 2 a.m. and I was leaning against my steering wheel, and I went out and I ran my car into the side of the curb. I was so drunk. It should have been like, this is it. I can't drink anymore. AA, I got to go to AA meetings. Got to really sit in my mind that I have a problem because this is dangerous. This is one time the Hank thing happened once. It could happen again. I could get myself into a lot of trouble and be very dangerous to myself or another person, other people. So alcohol is like, no, you can't just have one beer once in a while. No, you can't have a shot and then have one shot and then not have a drink for a week or a month. You can't have a glass of champagne at the wedding. You can't mow your lawn on a hot day and have a cold beer. You can't go to a game and watch a football game and have one beer, or have like an anniversary and have a half a glass of wine. No, you can't do that. You're not that kind of a person. You're broken. Your brain is broken. You can't drink alcohol. Accept it. Live with it. Deal with it. And that should have been it. And I would have been like, I would have gotten like promotions and raises. I would have been more sharp in my mind. I would have gotten better grades at college. I would have been more inclined to become more of a successful person if I hadn't drank excessively over the amount of times that I did. I ruined my life. I set myself back. I have regrets. I admit it. That there wasn't like Twins. If you see the movie Twins with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito, well, they're twins, right? They were intended to be born, and they were supposed to be he was supposed to be an engineered person that was strong, really smart, and given all the best schooling and the best education, the best training, the best all the nutrition, the best things. And then but unexpectedly, another baby was born after he was born, and he got that treatment, right? But after his other twin was born, he was thrown out like garbage. They sent him to a foster care, like orphanage, and it was really hard for him. He was short. He had to deal with a lot of other bad people. He had to be conniving and be hard. And the character in Twins, Danny DeVito, right? He meets up with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Arnold was like on an island. He had really good time. He had really good training and all that. And he's protecting him, and he's taking care of him. And he's loving him like his brother, right? Which I thought that was, and they both have date at the same time, and then they do things, and then they have like habits where they'll do one thing and they'll do it at the same time. It's called Twins, yeah, with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito. And then there's another movie like Trading Places, right, where Don Amici and the other old guys are on the commodities exchange, right, and they're wealthy, and they're playing, and they have the one guy that's the banker that works for them that helps them do trades. They want to bet, and they bet that they find a guy that's living out on the street, which is Eddie Murphy. He's a con man, right, living out on the street. And they bet, oh, I'll bet you that we could take him and throw him out on the street, right? This guy that works for us. And then we could take Eddie Murphy, him, and have him and replace him and put him in the same place. And I bet you that he could do the same thing. And the other guy says, no, he doesn't. I bet against you. I think he'll fail in that. So they bet, and they do that. They throw Dan Aykroyd out on the street and have Eddie Murphy coming in and put him in the really nice apartment and give him a position there at the company to help them do trading and commodities. And at first he goes along with it. He thinks, yeah, this is great. And then he finds out the other guy, right, why he's like trying to get his pace back. His girlfriend left him, his fiance left him, and he's on the street. He meets up with this girl, and she's a prostitute or a dancer, and then they find out what the two guys are doing and how they get a report, and they get the report before everybody else sees it, and they're able to buy on the commodities market, know what's going to happen before they see the report. So they switch it on the train. But the whole point I'm trying to make with that movie is that those two old guys, that it was because he had all those opportunities to learn, right? It was because somebody that's wealthy, that's successful, they don't just like, it just isn't innate to them to do that. They have to have support to be able to do that. And a lot of them won't even mention that. They'll hide that they had help. It'll be like, they'll make it out to be like they want you to look at them and see, wow, they did it all by themselves. You know, they're self-made. They're all self-made. They became successful all on their own. They started out with nothing, right? Rags. And then they bought a little business, and they worked like 14, 16 hours a day, and they like got customers, and then they hired somebody, and then they like made their business, and then they saved their money really hard, and then they used that money and they put it back into their business, and they made their business grow from that. And they had problems and struggles, and they were able to go out on their own and get that information and become learned and be able to solve their own problems all by themselves on their own. And we're supposed to like look up to those people and applaud them. Like, no, they didn't do that way. They got like help, right? Maybe they look like they're really smart because they have a lot of really smart people around them that they hire. They're surrounded by all these really brilliant people that help them, right, make decisions on every little thing. They're experts, and they have experts all around them. And when they're in the public eye, it looks like they're doing all of that, but they're really being supported by all these other really smart people around them. Or they had like really good experiences when they were young. They had really good teachers. They had like a perfect schools that they went to, tutors, that they never had any criminals around them that influenced them, or other bad people that were around them when they were children, that they were protected, and their parents kept them, guarded them really well against all the bad people in the world, all the bad influences that could have happened to them as children. And when they got, and they had college funds, money put aside for their education into the future. So when they were an adult and they were ready to go out into the world, they were all smart and educated, and they were able to protect themselves against criminals and making the bad decisions. And they didn't experience any trauma when they were younger, so they never got into drugs or anything like that. They weren't excessive, compulsive people. They were really well raised, and when they go out into the world and they become successful, everybody applauds them like they did it all on their own by themselves. but they had help, you know. They had all the right things, the right conditions. They were lucky. It was a guy was like in my company I worked at, and it was really smart, right? He knew machining really well. He knew materials really well. He knew programming and CNC machining. He knew like software really good. He knew CAD software, the programming, and he knew how to do like Excel. He knew Microsoft Office really well. He was a good communicator, and he was like, he could make decisions really fast, and he didn't have any interruptions in his train of thought. He could think about problems and go through and solve them like that. But there was the son of the president of one of the other companies that was a subsidiary of the main company that I worked for, and his son, they just gave him an engineering a position as an engineer, and he would like make changes on the product line, and it was like you couldn't go back and you had to the customer had to buy. They couldn't just replace that one part, right? As an upgrade, they had to buy a whole new unit that was more expensive, and all the changes of designs that he was doing was like not. You couldn't go back. You couldn't buy an old machine and then re-up the new pieces. You had to like buy a new machine, right? You couldn't retool. You couldn't. It was making it wasn't improving the equipment at all, right? It was making no improvements on the how the equipment worked. It was all about if it broke, it was more they'd make more money to repair it. And it was like they hired this guy to do that, to figure that out, because I'd be doing I'd be doing change notices, and I'd be like looking at it, well, like this is just making it more like, why do they need to do that? You know, it's like unnecessary to change that part of the, and then my friend, it was who I worked with, right? He was like wanting them to promote him. He thought, oh, they'll promote me because I got all this training. I could be an engineer. I could make design changes and know what I'm doing, and that he was like wanting that promotion. And then they hired this guy, and he came in, and well, you fell out of the wrong vagina. I told him that, you know, it was like laughing. I said, well, you fell out of the wrong vagina. You know, it's like, okay, that was funny. Ha. But in a way, reincarnation is like, you don't choose who you are, where you were, or who you will become from moment to moment. After the break apart and decomposition of this form that you have now, we're in the theater of another time. In that theater, a participant observer will emerge that will be a new person. It won't be you, it'll be a new person. So there is an afterlife. It's just not you that's in the afterlife. It's someone else. It's another person. It's you in the grocery store, and you're looking at a pregnant woman, and you're looking at her belly like that, like you could be that someday in the future. But no, because you are intimately connected to the atoms that your physical brain is uniquely as is in this moment, in this specific space, in this specific moment in time. You occupy that. You can't be in two different places at the same time. I think one of the answers to the question is if there is infinite universe, if it's extent, right? Just saying there's only one universe we know about. Just say that's a fact, right? We only know one. But let's just say it went on forever. Just like it's everywhere it goes, keeps going on and on and on. There's no end, there's no edge, right? It just keeps going on indefinitely. What proof would there be for that? You would like, the only proof I could think of would be you fall asleep, or you get knocked on the head, or you get like take a drug or something and it changes your brain, right? And then you're like on another earth, right? So you're in another place. You switch places. There could be someone so like you that's almost exactly like you, right? If that's the truth. But I'm an atomist, right? I believe in the physical world. This actual physical, solid, material world is the real world. There's no woo, There's no woo. Woo is like, let's make something exciting for the public, right? That'll excite them, that'll draw their attention and their interest, and we could captivate the public and sell them that idea and make it sell it, make money off of selling that idea and get people to be like, wow, yeah, that sounds neat. Yeah, wow, I like that. I'll buy your book. Yeah, I'm interested. Oh, I want to read the book. I want to see what else you have to say. You're telling us, wow, this is really, that sounds interesting. And then you got to buy the book. If you really want to know more, you got to buy the book, right? So go buy the book and you'll learn more. I'm not going to tell you everything here, right? Buy the book and you'll learn more. You'll know. You'll have one-upmanship. You'll have the game figured out, right? You'll have it all. You'll have it wrapped up. It'll be a wrap. There'll be no more problems. You can put yourself mind at ease. You could go, wow, I'm so glad it's that way. Because I read the book and it makes sense. He figured it all out. And now I don't have to worry about that anymore, You can always go to Alcor. If you have the money, you can have your body frozen. Or your brain. You can have your brain frozen too, which doesn't cost as much. They'll keep it in a vat of liquid nitrogen. And then when they figure out a way to thaw it out and bring your brain, re-stimulate your brain and bring it back to life, then you can relive in the future. It's the same person, really. That would be like, to me, that's life after death, right? Alcor, There wouldn't be anything else. Now, Ted, naturalist, I listen to the guy and I go, I nod. I go, yeah, he's right. Yeah, he's talking about Tom Clark and Tom Clark's writings in the 90s. And he's referencing a lot of other authors and scholars and people at different times that came to the same conclusion about generic subjective continuity. Different, they didn't use that word, but there was different. They had the idea that, well, you can't know that you can't never know what it's like to not exist. You can't experience non-existence. It's impossible for you to experience non-existence. That's a fact. And I think Ted, he goes to so much lengths and extremes to try to explain that inside and out. And it was one time he's trying to get credibility with the known authors like Sam Harris and David Benatar and the other popular, other popular people that have popularized science, skeptics, and that to agree with him. And he has a way of looking at antinatalism, the idea of antinatalism, promoting the idea of people not having children for not causing someone else to suffer. But when his take is that these people that are promoting antinatalism, they're the ones that don't want to come back. These people, I'm promoting this because this is what's going to happen. If this is not, I didn't want this to happen. I didn't want to be here. I didn't want to become a human being. This is not good. This place is not good. Life, evolution, being an organism, this is not a good thing. This is not, I would have never have wanted this to happen to themselves, right? So let's not promote natalism. Let's encourage people to adopt and not have children. Let's encourage vasectomies. Let's stop having kids, like the web organization website, Stop Having Kids. The anti-natalist people, they don't think like they're gonna stop themselves from coming back as a baby again. They don't. It doesn't seem like they're like coming at it from that angle. And Ted seems to think it sounds like Ted thinks that the people are like more for, they're trying to prevent themselves from coming back by promoting this idea, or ephilism too. That's another one, that if there's no life, if life ends and all living DNA-based life forms go extinct, all sentient conscious life forms go extinct, then that will guarantee that there will never be another this person coming back as someone else in the future at some other time. That motive, that kind of really general motive idea for that, them themselves not wanting to come back. As for ephilism, it kind of makes sense to me, but it's like so far removed from anything that can be remedied, like now in the modern, in the current political cultural setting that is today, would be like way outside of the scope of that idea ever coming to fruition, to where it was intentionally planned to do that. I think humanity is unintentionally ethilist. They're mowing down all the forests, all the rainforests, all the ancient forests. They're combing in the ocean for fish, for all the large fish. They're digging up and mining all of the minerals, and they're going to all of these remote wild areas, and they're transforming them into something that can be useful for humans. Taking that away from the animals, from the wild animals in that area, they're reducing the amount of habitable places for other wild animals to be. That so the human race is unintentionally ethilist. Unintentionally ethilist, right? Just going about our business, being we're just making it, as we keep more and more people, more populated. We're not going out and colonizing space. At least it could be like the Project Biosphere 2, right? If somebody was really a transhumanist, they would be like really focusing on the Biosphere 2 thing, where they can make like go to some place that's totally uninhabitable, right, and make a self-contained community there that's all self-contained, that can just live off of what it already has and recycle that and eat and live multiple generations in that dome, in that closed off space on the earth, right, or in the ocean. Then that would be, okay, now we're ready to go to the moon, right? Or go out into space. Now we're ready. We've done that. Biosphere 2, Biosphere 3, Biosphere 4. We got to make that. We got to perfect, recycle, reduce, reuse. Have it self-contained. Do it on the earth first. And then once we do it on the earth, then humans can go into space. I should not use the word we, because it sounds stupid. It's like I'm going to be there to witness that. It's like science, popular science, they make it out to be like there's going to be an eyeball. At the end of the universe, there's going to be an eye and an ear and a finger and a hand and a body in space, floating in there, experiencing the end of the universe come and go, right? There's some personal presence that's going to be witnessing the end of the universe. We got to popularize the science to make it sound like that. We got to word it to make it sound like someone's going to be there, witnesses that. And they talk in terms of like that being the far distant past too, like there's someone there witnessing that. When it's just we have data, we extrapolate from the records that we can make a model. We can model that, make a artistic rendering of what it was like Burgess Shale. We could take the flat, Opapenia, flat fossil of the Anomalocaris, and we could redo it in 3D and make a 3D model of it and show it swimming in a primordial ocean. Sorry, I put my glass down like that. I shouldn't do that. It's not good. I should think about more on what I'm saying on here too. That there's an idea in chaos theory called sensitivity to initial conditions. The idea of sensitivity to initial conditions, that the best allegory is there was a science fiction story told about time travelers that they could travel back in time to the time of the dinosaurs and hunt a dinosaur. So they had it set up to where the time machine they know the exact place where it would be, where the dinosaur would be. And it was all planned beforehand, which dinosaur they could kill and the weapon they had to use. And they couldn't deviate from the prescribed path while they were at the time period in the far distant past. And somebody deviated from that. They fell off the path, and they contaminated the timeline. So when they came back to the present in the time machine, everything was a little bit different. They had offset, they had changed history. But in the past, it was nothing. It was like they stepped on a plant, or they put their foot down, and it by their foot getting put down in the very, 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 very distant past, that changed that. Something changed that, and it changed something else, and it altered something else. So by the time that many years went by into the future again, it changed the outcome through the initial condition of that small event. It actually had it projected out broad into the future. It made mega change in the future from it being very subtle in the past. It's chaos theory. And I was thinking a lot about that with the stock market,